From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. The November election just days away. Early voting already taking place, in fact. And one of the most hotly contested races this cycle in our state is for the U.S. Senate. CBS News Miami's Ted Scouten talks to both Rick Scott and Debbie Merkersol-Powell before you head to the polls.
Republican Senator Rick Scott trying to keep his U.S. Senate seat as former U.S. Representative Democrat Debbie Merkersol-Powell is challenging him. The two have yet to meet on the debate stage.
Well, as you know, I've been traveling the state. We've just finished two hurricanes. We just finished Helene and Milton. We've got a lot of people hurting their state, and we'll see what happens over the last 20 days.
I'm ready. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a debate. Let's talk about the issues that affect everyday Floridians, the affordability crisis, the housing crisis.
Florida has seen back-to-back natural disasters, spotlighting climate change.
We need to continue to transfer and to shift to a more clean energy economy. And this is an economic opportunity for a lot of people, and I talk a lot about this. We have to reduce carbon emissions.
What we've got to do is do what I did as governor. We've got to look at what we can do. I put a lot of money into dealing with sea level rise, beach renourishment, fixing the dike at Lake Okeechobee. I mean, we spent unbelievable amounts of money. We got to do the same thing at the federal level.
And on abortion and Amendment 4, the two could not be further apart.
I oppose it. I'm pro-life. I oppose it.
A woman should be able to make this decision with her doctor, her family, her faith, free of government interference.
Throughout the race, Scott has been referring to Merkersol-Powell as a socialist.
Look, here's clear. My opponent is a socialist. All right, she supports open borders. She wants to defund the police. She wants appeasement for Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela. She doesn't support a military.
We grew up under military dictatorship, and it's an insult to so many families that have done the same thing, leaving socialist and communist dictatorships in Cuba, in Venezuela, to confuse them for political gain.
Ted Scouten, CBS News, Miami.
And one of the other big races, Miami-Dade County Sheriff. Voters in Miami-Dade are picking a sheriff for the first time since the 60s. Republican Rosie Cordero-Stutz and Democrat James Reyes held events encouraging people to get out and vote. The two are trying to highlight their differences as they face off in what's becoming a very contentious race.
She wasn't sentenced. The document. You should continue to read the document all the way to the end.
I have. The gloves are off in the Miami-Dade Sheriff's race, pitting Democrat James Reyes and Republican Rosie Cordero-Stutz. Their TV ads are slinging mud everywhere. Cordero-Stutz has spent 28 years with Miami-Dade Police, starting as a patrol officer, rising through the ranks to become its current deputy assistant director. Her years of experience in police work, she says, make her the better candidate.
I've been a police officer in this county, in Miami-Dade County, for 28 years. I started in patrol in 1996. I worked the streets. I was an officer. I was a detective. I was a sergeant. I was a lieutenant. I was a police major. I was a police chief. And now I'm an assistant director.
Reyes spent 22 years with the Broward Sheriff's Office Corrections Unit, rising to director. 2 years ago, he was hired by Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava to be Miami-Dade's corrections chief and then promoted to chief of public safety, overseeing police, fire, and corrections.
I think one of the biggest qualifications that I have that has resonated with the community is being the only candidate that has executive leadership experience in a sheriff's office, having been a colonel and the executive director of one of the largest sheriff's offices in the country.
During an hour-long debate with CBS News Miami's Jim DeFede, the two candidates agreed on the need for a police corruption unit, more crisis counselors to tackle mental health issues, and improve race relations, pointing to the now notorious traffic stop involving Dolphin star receiver Tyreek Hill.
When we've made mistakes, stepping forward and saying we've made them and we are going to try to do better. And as a sheriff, I'm committed to make sure that we continue to improve on those things.
Those incidents highlight the need for three things from the leadership of any police agency when responding to those types of incidents. First, transparency. Second, due process, and last but definitely not least, and one that the community expects, is accountability.
When we come back, see how one South Florida woman had her dream of purchasing a home come true. You won't want to miss this report next.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. Millions of Americans are struggling with credit card debt, but relief may come soon in the form of more interest rate cuts later in the year. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York reports U.S. consumers collectively owe $1.14 trillion to credit card companies. What can you do about it? CBS News Miami's Joe Gorcho has some advice.
On a weekday afternoon in Fort Lauderdale, people walk up and down Las Olas, passing restaurants and shops, enjoying the cuisine or walking out with a lovely gift. Costs money.
Always been my approach. If I can't afford something, I'm not going to buy it.
Ramez Jamali says he's a cautious spender after learning what happens when you're not at a young age.
$5,000, yeah, I had on 5 credit cards when I was 17. I couldn't afford it. My mom bailed me out.
Helped him out and put him on a better path. The risk of falling into debt has others staying clear of even having one credit card in their wallet.
I'm scared to have a credit card because I'm scared of getting into situations like that.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've never even wanted to get a credit card?
Like, I've thought about it, but it's a lot of, I feel like it's a lot of risk, a lot of financial responsibility.
Inflation's really been eating into people's purchasing power, so they've had to turn to credit cards.
Last month's Federal Reserve Bank of New York study found that Americans are increasingly worried about making minimum credit card payments. Over 14% of people surveyed thought they might miss making their minimum debt payment in the next 3 months, the highest mark since the beginning of the pandemic.
Stopping credit card usage immediately is the #1 plan, and then you can go into the other more advanced strategies.
Kirshner spells out his strategy. Create a budget that includes making credit card payments, focus on the debt with the highest interest rate first, or pay off the card with the lowest amount, and call your credit card company.
Saying, look, can't pay the payment. What's the best deal you can work out? It will ruin your credit, obviously, at that point.
For a certain amount of time.
For a certain amount of time.
It's not a forever thing.
Not forever.
And as a last resort, he says, consider debt consolidation.
Once you go to a debt consolidator, your credit is definitely going to get messed up. Now, you just have to make sure that fixed interest rate is fair and it's not more than what you're paying now.
The best approach, though, is to map out a realistic budget to avoid getting deep into debt.
I have my neighbor who lives next door to me, and she can't manage, so I guess, just being mindful and not spend more than what you can afford.
According to a recent Bankrate survey, 37% of cardholders have maxed out a credit card or have come close since the Federal Reserve began hiking interest rates in March of 2022. And more than half of those people blame inflation for their situation. Reporting in Doral, Joe Gorcho, CBS News Miami.
South Florida's high housing costs are still pressing many people out of the market, but now news of several local home buying programs helped a single mom close on her first home. CBS News Miami's Steve Ruggieri shows us what she had to go through.
Thank you so much.
Adeline Dorima is a housekeeper, but never had her own house until today.
Every time the kids always ask me, Mommy, I like to live in the house.
The single mom with 3 kids was living in an apartment for 18 years. She says she couldn't afford a house until she utilized homebuyer assistance programs.
I look, but I cannot qualify without the program.
It took just about a year for Dorima to finalize everything. And just to get a mortgage on this house, she had to take out 5 different loans from 4 different entities. She utilized the City of Miami's first-time homebuyer program, which is a zero-interest loan for those that meet the income requirements.
This means so much to me.
And since she lives in City Commission Chair Christine King's district, she was able to use a program King enacted that can provide up to $200,000 in funding towards buying your first home, as long as it's in her district.
We are eliminating these barriers for our homeowners.
The Little Haiti Housing Association helped Dorima sift through all the paperwork.
We had to go through all the backlogs, when you're dealing with city and county authorities, but she made it.
Chairwoman King says her program should have enough funding to place 4 more people in new homes. A City of Miami spokesperson says the city's down payment assistance program has helped nearly 1,000 people since the year 2000. Dorima says aside from all the new space, what she really likes about her new home is that her monthly mortgage payment will be less than what she paid in rent. In Little Haiti, Steve Magiri, CBS News, Miami.
When we come back, see how a South Florida man is showcasing his love for bees and some fun facts that may have you buzzing with intrigue.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. It's no secret that Florida is one giant zoo of many alien species. One invasive fish is building quite the home, with mysterious holes showing up alongside Florida's riverbanks. The Fish and Wildlife Research Institute calls them invasive catfish condos. CBS News Miami's Joe Gorcho caught up with someone who hunts down the unwelcome water intruders.
On a night adventure out here in the Everglades in search of invasive armored catfish.
Raj Denarayan's passion guides him to the water in the Everglades.
Get the community together and try to tackle this problem a little bit because it's growing out of control, basically.
He calls himself the Iguana Man and posts videos on his YouTube channel, hunting invasive species professionally in South Florida for a living, like the armored sailfin catfish.
Do you ever worry about getting hurt on any of these adventures?
I do get hurt. I get hurt. It's a lot of wear and tear on the ankles, on the body.
The FWC Fish and Wildlife Research Institute posted this photo of sizable holes along a Florida riverbank while holding an armored sailfin catfish. They say they've become a common sight in fresh water and create nesting sites to protect their eggs. And their presence destabilizes banks and contributes to erosion and increased cloudiness in the water.
The Everglades has become more of a breeding ground for invasives.
Captain Roger Sizemore gives boat tours in the Everglades, and over the years, he's seen a greater presence of this invasive catfish.
We see them pretty frequently. When the water is lower, which here within the next few months as the rains stop and water levels recede, you'll start to see a lot more fish.
So you might be wondering, how in the world did the armored sailfin catfish even make it into Florida's waterways and the Everglades? Well, the Research Institute points out that oftentimes they start off as pets in aquariums released into the wild, and then it leads to devastating consequences for the environment and natural wildlife in the area. It's why Denarayan hunts.
And you throw the net in like the weeds, like you'll definitely catch them.
To limit the damage, he says, caused by invasive species. Joe Gorcho, CBS News Miami.
Well, bees can be scary, and they thrive in South Florida, but they're also super important for our ecosystem. Our CBS News Miami's Morgan Reiner is showing us how one beekeeper saves the bees and makes sure nothing goes to waste.
Just in these two individual hives, we have over 100,000 bees.
Gina Navarro truly loves bees.
So a very interesting fact is the color of the comb indicates the age of the hive.
And is full of fun facts.
The queen can lay up to 2,000 eggs a day.
It's a passion he learned from his father, who started his own pest control company in South Florida. But Navarro wanted to take it a step further. So he continued his education at the University of Florida Agricultural Department to learn about beekeeping, and now instructs others on how to safely remove a hive.
Homeowners usually call and they tell us they have bees.
This house in Hollywood has a compost bin in the backyard that a beehive took over.
The smoke blocks the pheromones of bees. Bees communicate through smell.
Smoke from pine needles he collects at job sites allows him to work at ease with these bees.
This bee vac is very gentle for the bees.
Then he starts removing the honeycomb from the bin and rebuilding the hive in this box, all while scanning for the queen bee.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the queen.
You found it?
Yes, yes. So very interesting. She is beautiful. She is very large, and she is very thick. Wait for it. Notice the longest one in that particular cavity.
With queen bee in hand, the other bees follow her smell into the makeshift box, and it's ready for transport.
This is step 2 of the process. They relocate all of these bees here to Homestead, where they rebuild the hive. And take a look at this. This is the goal, the beautiful outcome of honey.
The Bee Rescue in Homestead has 80 hives right now. That's millions of bees.
We're able to then harvest this honey. We're able to extract it, and then we're able to bottle this honey, and then we're able to give it to other people around us.
And he gives the wax away to other beekeepers.
For the wax, we actually hand it to other beekeepers that are very tailored into the wax candle process.
Candles, lip balms, no part goes to waste.
They pollinate what we eat, our produce, our food, a lot of plants. So because they're so essential and they are physical pollinators, it's why they're so important. So now, as part of what we do, we can then give back to the environment.
So if you're thinking about spraying a beehive in your house or business,
take a look at that.
Navarro has a message for you.
I want to say there's a lot more to the bees that goes into them that I think it's important to just approach it with care.
In Homestead, Morgan Reiner, CBS News, Miami.
CBS. I see what she did there. All right. Thank you for joining us this half hour on Headliner. As always, keep it right here to CBS News Miami for up-to-the-minute breaking news and weather 24 hours a day. Make it a great one.